Welcome to SO Lecture 10, Cesarean Section Preparation. Proper preparation for a cesarean section is as crucial as the surgery itself. Establishing routine steps can significantly increase efficiency during emergencies. However, modifications may be required for critically ill patients. The first step involves a thorough history and physical examination of the patient. In this process, you will be assessing both maternal and fetal health, and you should identify the reason for the cesarean section as well. This may be a placental abnormality, fetal positioning, or an emergency like obstructed labor, abnormal fetal heart rate, or placental abruption. The second step is essential. Explain the procedure to the patient, discussing potential risks and benefits. You should mention that there is a higher risk of blood loss with a cesarean section compared to a vaginal delivery, and determine whether the patient has a religious objection to a blood transfusion. Cesarean sections are also high risk for infection, so you should inform them of this and let them know they will be given antibiotics before starting the case. Although low, there is a risk of injury to surrounding structures, like the bowels and bladder. If they have previously had a cesarean section, this risk is higher. With any surgery, there is a risk of blood clot in the lungs or legs. You can also give them an overview of anesthetic risks or let the anesthesia team do this. You should also help the patient understand what will happen if they do not have the cesarean section. Remember that before an emergency cesarean section, the patient may be in pain, very tired, and afraid when you are speaking to them. The third step is to perform some laboratory testing prior to performing a cesarean section, since there is an increased risk of blood loss. These include a CBC and type and screen. If you are concerned that the patient is at even higher risk of blood loss, for example, if they have large fibroids or a placenta previa, or if they are anemic before the surgery, then you can be even better prepared by ensuring you have cross-match blood available. The fourth step is establishing IV access, critical for fluid administration and medication delivery during the procedure. The size of the catheter should be appropriate based on the urgency of the situation. If there is an extensive hemorrhage, you may use a larger gauge needle to administer fluids and blood faster. The fifth step is prophylactic antibiotics, which should be administered within 60 minutes of incision for every cesarean section. Common choices include cefazolin or clindamycin, depending on the patient's allergy history. The sixth step is administering antacids such as sodium citrate or ranitidine before surgery, which helps reduce the risk of aspiration during anesthesia, particularly in pregnant women at risk for gastric reflux. The risk of reflux is higher if the woman has been eating or drinking up to the time of the C-section. The seventh step is that a Foley catheter should be inserted before the procedure to keep the bladder drained during surgery. This reduces the risk of bladder injury, which is high in a cesarean section since the bladder is so close to the lower uterine segment. A full bladder will also make it difficult to see and reach the lower uterine segment. If the fetal head is engaged deep in the pelvis, consider disimpacting it from below before beginning the procedure. You may also position the patient in stirrups instead of having them lie supine for the surgery. This would allow an assistant access to the vagina to help push the head up from below if it is very impacted in the pelvis. The person disimpacting the fetal head needs to apply pressure over the largest possible surface area and not just push with 1 or 2 fingers, which could cause a depressed skull fracture. Studies now show that performing reverse breech delivery would be less traumatic for the fetus if it is deeply engaged in the pelvis. This may also result in less extension of the uterine incision. Position the patient lying slightly to the left, approximately 15 degrees, to avoid supine hypotension caused by aortocaval compression. This can be done by tilting the bed or placing a wedge under the right hip. Ensuring patient comfort and safety is very important. As discussed on the last slide, you can consider putting their legs up in stirrups with the hips only slightly flexed if needed. Otherwise, patients are usually supine for cesarean sections. Before beginning the cesarean section, you should listen to the fetal heart tones to assess fetal well-being. They should be documented in the surgical record. Before starting the procedure, confirm that all personnel, including the surgeon, anesthesia provider, and nursing staff, are ready. Confirm availability of necessary equipment and supplies, and review the care plan for the newborn. The surgical safety checklist, developed and endorsed by the World Health Organization, is essential for improving patient safety. Studies have shown that its use significantly reduces surgical errors, morbidity, and mortality. The surgical safety checklist consists of 3 phases: sign in to confirm patient identity and plan procedure, time out to verify antibiotics and address any concerns, and sign out to review the operation and ensure proper counts. Here is an example of the surgical safety checklist. It consists of 3 phases. The first phase is prior to starting anesthetic, and it confirms patient identity and procedure. The second is prior to starting the procedure, to verify antibiotics and address any concerns. The last phase is done when the procedure is over, and its purpose is to review the operation and ensure proper counts. As healthcare professionals, you have an important role in advocating for the use of surgical safety checklists. Be sure it is used at every C-section. Setting an example for colleagues and actively participating in all phases of the checklist can increase patient safety. During practical training sessions, the surgical safety checklist should be practiced. In summary, we have discussed how to obtain informed consent for a cesarean section. We discussed preoperative preparation, including medications, bladder catheter, and patient positioning. We also went through the surgical safety checklist.